Here again with founding partner Antonio Romanucci, we are going to talk about mass shootings today. Thank you, Tony.
Thank you, Jen.
I'd like to start talking about the practice of mass shooting law. Now, when you went to law school, there was no mention of this, even 10 years ago. What has happened since the sunsetting of the federal assault weapons ban in 2004?
Well, life has changed drastically since that assault weapon sunset in 2004. For 10 years, there was a ban on assault weapons in this country from 1994 to 2004. And then since then, Jen, since 2004, not only have we seen an uptick, it's been a dramatic increase in the number of mass shootings. We're talking maybe somewhere in the neighborhood of maybe 200 per year back in 2004. To 2023, we saw over 600 in this country. And generally, a mass shooting is defined anytime someone is shot or involved in a killing where 4 or more people are hit.
If you go big picture on a 1 to 10 scale, how difficult are mass shooting cases?
The difficulty of mass shooting cases is really a 12 on a scale of 1 to 10. And that's because, lawyers, jurists, judges, everybody likes what's called precedent. There is not a lot of precedent here when it comes to litigating these cases. And that's because gun manufacturers have a type of immunity, and it's called PLACA, which stands for Protection and Lawful Commerce in Arms Act. Gun manufacturers can't be sued because they're designed or manufactured or fail to give warnings on one of their guns. They can only be sued under PLACA if there is an exception, and usually this predicate exception is if they have violated a state or federal law. So we have to find a violation of a state or federal law that either a gun manufacturer, a gun shop, or some related industry violated, federal law or state law violation, before we can sue them. And so that's why it's so difficult to take on these cases.
So why take them with all those headwinds?
Well, plaintiffs' lawyers want to do good. And when we want to do good, we're really looking to do 2 things. Number 1, we want to help our clients. We want to get them what they've lost in this tragedy. They have suffered traumatic, dramatic, and devastating harm, injuries, or sometimes even death. So we need to recompensate, them for this loss with money. That's what our 7th Amendment says. And the second issue is really social justice. How can we, as plaintiffs' lawyers, make our communities safer? Because we know that our federal government, the way it's politicized right now in Washington, D.C., is not able to. They are completely at a standstill. They will not either amend or do away with PLACA. If anything, they're emboldened to keep it. Our states also are trying to do their part. Illinois instituted an assault weapon ban a couple of years ago, but that was now that's on appeal because it was ruled unconstitutional. So we have to hope for constitutionality on the assault weapon ban. But either way, it still comes back to the plaintiffs' lawyers as being the people who have the most at stake in getting something done.
And a point of clarity, these civil mass shooting cases are not trying to take down the Second Amendment. Is that correct?
Absolutely not. The Second Amendment is the rule of law in this country, and we respect the rule of law. But don't forget, the Second Amendment was founded or was written at a time in the late 18th century when people lived in homes that did not have security cameras or doorbells where you could see people coming to your door, or any other type of system that could protect you. They didn't have bars on windows. This was a different time. And so all we're saying is that the Second Amendment needs to grow with the times. We're not looking to do away with it.
Let's get more specific. Tell me a bit about some of the mass shooting cases you've been involved with and the clients. Do they share a common reaction? Have their lives been disrupted in a common way? What do you see across the cases?
Well, we've literally been involved in mass shooting cases coast to coast. And there's a reason for that, is because mass shootings really don't discriminate. So we've been involved in the mass shooting case from, Pulse, which was in Orlando, Florida, which was our first in 2016. And then a year later, there was the Mandalay Bay shooting, or Route 91, as some people call it, in Las Vegas in October of 2017. And that grew then into Uvalde, which was the Texas-based shooting at a grade school, which killed just way too many people, and obviously young children. And Club Q, which is in Colorado Springs, Colorado, an LGBTQ nightclub. And then we're also involved in the Highland Park Parade massacre, which was July 4th of 2022. And so it goes on and on. So those are the types of cases that we're involved in. No discrimination of who the person was, what the sex of the person was, or how they identified. It is just something that is pervasive.
And let's talk about defendants in these cases. And we've seen everything from Smith & Wesson and gun manufacturers for their marketing practices, municipalities or premises owners for what they knew or should have known about a threat. Is there any other practice area where the legal strategy varies so much case to case?
Well, clearly, I think what you're referring to is complex litigation. This would be defined as complex, because you're only not suing the gun manufacturer or the obvious person here, but you have to look deep into the layers to see who else could have been a cause for this mass shooting. Was it the gun shop? Was it the gun manufacturer? Was it a distributor? Was it a component part manufacturer? Was it the premises where the gun shooting or where the mass shooting took place? Was there a municipality involved in that where red flag laws were not abided by or were overlooked? So there are multiple layers of what we call defendants, or people who are responsible for a mass shooting, that we need to look at before we can say that we have made a fulsome investigation.
Okay, let's go even bigger picture. How does this type of litigation align with other cases through U.S. history that may have created change, with the plaintiff's attorney sort of being the leading edge? Are there other examples of cases?
Yeah, I don't want to say that's an easy question, but it's a good question, because I think that viewers can relate to this. And the most simple ones would be tobacco, asbestos, the Pinto Ford litigation, opioid crisis, and now Juul cigarettes, for example, vaping cigarettes would be another one, and now this. So yes, those are all examples where plaintiffs' attorneys took a risk, not knowing whether or not they could succeed. It took decades in some cases, really, like tobacco litigation, asbestos litigation, decades of hard work, same thing with opioids, in order to create the change, in order to change the industry.
Okay, I have two more questions for you. One is this: as we record this in the first quarter of 2025, we have what I'll call less bad news. There was a reduction in mass shootings in 2024 by about 23%, which is progress, still a long way to go. There were still 500, which is 500 too many.
Sure.
And some say that reduction last year was due to the White House Office of Gun Violence Prevention and the work that it had done. Days after the Trump inauguration, that office was closed.
Yeah.
Your thoughts?
Well, you don't see typically a 23 or 24% reduction in anything unless there's an intervening reason for it. So there isn't anything that we can specifically say that caused mass shootings to drop 23%, other than the fact that the office, that the White House had the Office of Gun Violence Prevention fully open and operational during that time. So the fact that that office is now closed, after we've seen such a drastic reduction in that period of time, should have everybody concerned. Because as I said, mass shooters in mass shootings typically don't discriminate. Those bullets are literally flying all over the place. And you can be a very innocent casualty. And the fact that there will be, or that there were 24% less shootings in that 1 year means that there were 24% less people killed or harmed.
You are not the only attorney who's had a mass shooting victim come to you. There are others who have these tragedies in their cities and states. Can you talk a little bit about what that's like, what their office might be like at that time, and if they might need help or be looking for a co-counsel? What can Romanucci and Blandin offer to them?
Well, obviously these cases have a very complex nature to them. As I said earlier, I think on a scale of 1 to 10, they're at 12. And that doesn't mean that there are so many lawyers out there capable of handling these cases. But what we have seen is that collaboration and cooperation in complex litigation usually and typically leads to much better and higher results, because you put more brains together who try and figure out the issues on these complexities. So we do try and partner up with other law firms who may or may not have the experience that we have, because we are not too humble to say that we also partner with some of the great law firms in this country, and I'm talking about Everytown, who is such a good partner to Romanucci and Blandin, because they have only the specific expertise in these issues that they brief so well, which means writing on so well when it comes to the gun-related issues. So we do try to partner up with other law firms, and certainly with people at Everytown, just because we want to ensure success.
Thank you, and thank you for sharing what
Yeah.
you know.
Thank
Should
you.
anyone be interested in reaching out to Romanucci and Blandin to continue this conversation, please feel free to reach us at info@rblaw.net or call anytime, 312-458-1000. Thank you, Tony.
Thanks, Jen.